Hello everybody, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album by Finger 11. This is Last Night on Earth. It's 10 years since Finger 11 dropped their previous album, 5 Crooked Lines, which in my opinion was probably one of the most bland experiences from Finger 11's catalogue. I love this band. In the earlier days, Tip was a nice album, while it had a bit of a rough sound to it. They definitely relied more on the post-grunge feel, and I actually think that they blended some good hard rock elements to that, and then they improved upon the sound with The Greatest of Blue Skies, easily the most concrete and solid album ever. This one was so good that some of the songs were even on Dragon Ball soundtracks, especially for some of the movies, and I thought that shit's pretty cool. The album itself just has a lot of bangers on it, like Drag You Down. First Time is another big one on there that I quite enjoy, and then you get tracks like Suffocate, My Carousel. That album is just kick-ass. Then they had Self-Titled, which, while it kind of dipped into a little bit more mainstream, they still had the proper sound there, some nice hard rock, some nice new metal feel to it. They had a pretty big hit with One Thing, which was the number one in their home country, Canada, and then they just went more radio friendly with Them Versus You Versus Me, their biggest album, mainly due to the Paralyzer hit, which this one was a pretty big song when it came out, and then pretty much a few years ago at least, it became a kind of resurged meme when it came to the Quagmire toilet, as well as the name every character meme. I don't know why I know this, but I guess I do. And since then, they've just kind of been dropping, I guess, okay to meh albums, but not Last Night on Earth, I have a bone to pick with. I was looking forward to a new Finger 11 album, because I wanted to see if they really want to try and ignite the spark of what our older fans wanted, but I feel like they just kind of wanted to do more or less what they wanted. I don't really think there's anything really worth of interest on this record in my eyes. Like, the 3 singles we had were very mixed. Adrenaline was just fine. It was just your modern run of the mill Finger 11 song. And then you had Blue Sky Mystery, which featured Filter, and I didn't care for this one. I think this one just sounded way too bland, cheesy, just basically like butt rock entirely, with no originality to it. Just because it's Filter doesn't really mean it makes much sense, and if anything, I've not really been a big fan of Filter's vocals lately, and this is kind of another case of that. And Last Night on Earth is just an easy skip in my opinion. I just don't have anything I need to address to that. I just hated this one. But the new songs honestly are very disappointing. There is little to nothing new Finger 11 are bringing to the table. You make a 10-year, not a hiatus, but they spent 10 years with no music. The only actual new stuff you could consider was they released a Greatest Hits a couple of years ago, which had the single Together Right on it, which was again bland. It just felt it's a modern Finger 11 song. It doesn't really do anything interesting. And then they had a nice kind of niche Welcome to the Machine cover from Pink Floyd, which I think is pretty cool. This is an older track. It just never really got a proper release. It's kind of nice that they've compiled Slow Chemical to be on a release, but this release was still weird. How it only went for straightforward singles, not the fact that one of the biggest songs from Self-Titled were on it, Stay in Shadow, which this one just kind of resurged to being one of them more popular on Spotify and streaming, but it pretty much just kind of lacked in some of the earlier stuff and mainly supplied into the Them Versus You Versus Me sound, and it's not that great. I don't know, I just don't really care much for modern Finger 11. The first 3 albums are great, and this is kind of another example of it doesn't really work. But apart from, it's actually a lot more disappointing and just frail compared to 5 Crooked Lines, which just never really piqued interest in any point. Like, there's, I guess, some element to this that I enjoyed. The Mountain is probably the only song I actually had some more enjoyment out of. It's nice to hear them kind of go a bit heavier. It kind of reminded me a little bit of early Finger 11, but that was only certain moments of the song, and it's only because the song kind of clicked in some way with me. Cold Concrete locked me up, did not do anything whatsoever, and after Perfect Effigy, I just didn't really care for anything. And they had the audacity to have Blue Sky Mystery twice on this album, to pretty much make this album a little bit longer. The 11th track is also Blue Sky Mystery, same song, same length, same everything, minus having Filter in it. What's the point then? I don't think it matters if you have one with a feature or without a feature. It doesn't add anything. I guess it's just somewhat slightly better because I don't think Filter's vocals are great, but you're not missing anything by experiencing this one over the other. I can tell you that. This album is just a big stack of disappointment, and I'm just wondering at this point, what is Finger 11's audience really? Because this is just the most bland stuff I've heard in a while, and I just don't know, just what happened. This is the band that released such an amazing, underrated album, and now they're just releasing, I guess, just the most bland thing ever. Even the Life Turns Electric release was a lot more interesting. I felt that was more consistent, and while I'm not big on it, it's certainly more enjoyable than this record. This record is just 5 crooked lines with a little bit more ambition, but I somehow would prefer 5 crooked lines because I'm just used to the material. So I'm going to give this one 2 out of 5. I did not like this one. Hope you'll enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next video.